Hey, Jeffrey Pepper Rogers here with another episode of Guitar Sessions. And that what I just played is the intro from Brandi Carlile's You and Me on the Rock from the album In These Silent Days. And that whole album has a real strong vibe of Laurel Canyon music, 70s folk rock, and particularly with this song, an early Joni Mitchell sort of a vibe. And Brandi Carlile actually put out two versions of it that are really different and actually in different keys. The original version with the full band is in the key of C sharp, and it has this guitar part in an open tuning played by Tim Hanseroth, and that's what I'm going to focus on in this lesson. But the other version on the expanded edition of that album in the Canyon Haze played in the key of B. She fingerpicks that one, standard tuning capo 4 G shape, so sounding in the key of B. So really simple kind of alternating bass fingerpicking accompaniment on that. But my focus here is on the original version and on that open tuning guitar part. So as I said, in the key of C sharp on the album, but this is the first trick about this so the tuning is actually open D tuning lowered a half step to C sharp. So I have my guitar, for simplicity's sake, for you to get in tune with me, I have myself tuned to open D here. D, A, D, F sharp, A, and D. And open D chord going across the strings. So if you take all those notes and you just lower every one by a half step, you wind up with C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F, G sharp, C sharp, which would be an open C sharp tuning. But since open D requires less retuning, that's what I'm going to use here again to make it simple. This tuning is used in a lot of early Joni Mitchell songs, either open D or she actually uses open E as well, which is the same tuning up a step. So the notes of open E tuning are E, B, E, G sharp, B, E, which is actually the same pitches, the same relationships between the strings as in open D as I played it, just up a step. I tend to like to use open D because open E requires tuning a bunch of strings higher than standard pitch, and I prefer generally not to do that. So I'll use open D, and then if I need to get it up higher, I'll just use a capo for that. So some of these Joni Mitchell songs are in actually open E, but I'm going to just talk about them here in open D. So a few of the songs that Joni Mitchell plays in open D or open E tuning. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Big Yellow Taxi played in that tuning. Both Sides Now played in this tuning, capoed up, actually open E capoed up. And one of the songs that's very reminiscent of this Brandi Carlile song is this one. You might recognize that as the beginning of Chelsea Morning. So some great songs of Joni Mitchell's, and Chelsea Morning, that part in particular, has some things in common with this guitar part for the Brandi Carlile song. So if you want to dig more into Joni Mitchell, there is another episode that talks about her tune Just Like This Train. I also dug really deeply into her whole use of open tunings in a lesson that's in a book called Play Guitar Like the Great Singer-Songwriters, so you might want to check that out as well. Another lesson in this series that is in open D teaches how to play The Cave by Mumford & Sons. So in this video, I'm going to run through the intro of the song and give you those basics. So over on Patreon, you'll find the full version of this video where I run through the rest of the song. And as with all the episodes in this series on Patreon, also you can download the tab and the charts for everything that I'm doing in these lessons. Finally, on Patreon as well, I have created an audio file that actually transposes the song up a half step so that you can actually play it in open D without tuning all your strings down a half step from there. So this intro is just based on these little figures where fretting the first and third strings up high on the neck and then playing all these drone strings over it. So leaving the second string, fourth string, could be playing the low strings as well. Kind of got the drone going on while I'm shifting it around on the first and third strings. And starting up here at the 12th fret, fretting the first and third string. Then I'm going to go down to this, where I'm at the 10th fret on the third string, 11th fret on the first string. So I'm going to slide that same shape up here to the 13th and 14th frets and go back to the 12th. So just going to kind of do the shapes first. Same thing again. So that goes twice, and then we're gonna go up to this shape at the 13th and 14th frets. Back to the 12th, and then this one is at the 15th and 16th frets. Time, starting here on the 12th fret. So one thing to know about this is this part in terms of the chord progression is over a D. Again, I'm just talking about it in terms of D, even though the original is actually sounding a half step lower. That's all over a D. This part is actually, when the bass is playing, it's playing a G note. It's going to the 4 chord there. So even though I'm not actually playing that bass note, I'm just kind of droning over these sounds and over that sort of D pedal bass, but the chord progression of the band is sort of shifting from D to G during that little intro. So this intro has a sort of a syncopated rhythm a little bit, and again, you can dig into the tab if you go over to Patreon, but the best way to think about it is think of your hand going up and down on every 8th note. So imagine you're just doing that. On every 8th note, but in this pattern you're just going to be skipping some of those notes, but yet your hand is still moving when even when you're not playing the string. You're kind of keeping that down up motion going, so that if you skip one of the downstrokes, if you don't play the strings, maybe you'll catch it coming back up on an upstroke. But if you maintain the alternating down up, that keeps your rhythm really solid, because you're still, when you're hitting an on beat, when you're going to be playing down, getting a stronger accent, and when you're on the sort of accented off beats, you're going to be playing an upstroke. Count it like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you can kind of make up your own rhythms to that, but if you just maintain that up and down hand motion, and then, as I say, leave some of those beats open. And there's a lot of this da-dum, da-dum, bum, 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 bum. There's a lot of those up strokes on the off beats that are happening in this pattern. All right, so there's the intro for you, and over on Patreon, I'll dig into the rest of the song. Thanks a lot for watching. Have fun with it.